Welcome,
Ready?
everybody. We are live. So we are with Matt Wright, and we are going to be doing some more of these lunch and learn type sessions. I had planned to be live in a couple of groups, but due to some technical issues, we're just going to be live and ad buyers only today. I'm excited to have Matt with us. I've known Matt for, I think, about a year. I've had good opportunity to meet with him on several occasions. Very smart marketer, very intuitive. He is going to be doing a lunch and learn. If you guys have questions, definitely put them in the chat. But we're going to be going over some of his sales tracking and how he's fixing his over reporting in Facebook. So Matt, I will kick it over to you and I will shut
Cool.
up.
Thanks. I'm gonna share my screen and we'll hop in here. Cool. So this presentation is called Accurate Sales Tracking, Fixing Overreporting in Facebook Ads, and it's all about better accountability and better results. We're gonna go through how we get those things. If you want to get the tracking sheet or this presentation, you can go to that link right there. If you have questions after this, hopefully, then you can email me at matt@mattwrightconsulting.com. Cool. Context is everything that I do is info product based. I'm not like an ecom guy. I've tried. For some reason, I can't crack that, but I'm great at info. That means ebooks, courses, webinars, challenges. That's what I deal with. So principles from this presentation will absolutely apply to ecom, but I can't guarantee a perfect translation. You're going to come away knowing the difference between what I call the Facebook CPA and the real world CPA. CPA means cost per acquisition. Some people use CAC or CAC. I like to use CPA because CAC just has a weird sound to it. You're going to clearly understand how much Facebook overreports in every one of your individual accounts, or how much it underreports and why it does that. And then you're going to learn, most importantly, how to leverage a number that I created called the sales delta, so you can confidently work with Facebook data and avoid paying for expensive tracking systems, probably. This will get you like 90% of the way there. So cool. Some quick about me. I have only ever worked in internet marketing since graduating college in 2017. This is basically all I've ever done. I've met all the cool people, I've done work with some cool people, had some big launches and things like that. Like I said before, I specialize in info products, courses, challenge webinars. I've trained with multiple guru advertiser people, and then I've kind of sussed it into my own system. I really don't like dogmatic things like you have to set up your ads in this way or whatever. You're going to find in this presentation, I'm all about once you understand your CPA and your funnel economics, then you can manipulate them and do cool things. The average client sticks with me at least twice as long as the average agency. I checked yesterday and we're at like 6 months for most people, but it was a little bit higher because I had a client with me for like 2 years beforehand. So I don't service a lot of people and I service them for a long time. Currently managing around $200,000 of ad spend per month. And if you didn't see, I'm big into guitar and music stuff. So some quick client results, so you know I'm not just some random dude they plucked out of a hat for this. Both these clients started working with me in October 2023. Client one is a challenge funnel that does a high ticket backend, and client number two is a webinar funnel. So we've spent over 300,000 with one and around $1 million with the other, and we've made them both about $1 million, which is pretty cool. So some questions you've asked yourself is, why does Facebook data always look good, but when I go and do the math, I'm losing money? Or why do agencies say that they're getting way better results than they actually are? And why is tracking so hard? What numbers matter? Why do I hear so many conflicting strategies? We're going to clear all that up today. So here's the thing you need to know. The A plus number one thing is that if your average order value is greater than your CPA, you're going to be profitable. End of story. And there's going to be somebody out there who's like, oh, well, you know, we have a 30-day value and we're okay losing money up front. And well, guess what? I'm not talking about those. There's actually few businesses that I've ever met that operate that way. The businesses that are usually operating that way are very, very, very well established businesses. So this is how to get you profitable now. If you want to make money now, this is for you. The better we understand our CPA, the better we can run our accounts. And your job as the ads manager or media buyer is responsible for lowering CPA. And anybody who handles CRO is responsible for increasing AOV. So if you're going to consult your clients on increasing AOV stuff, that's actually an opportunity for you to charge more. So most people don't understand their numbers because they don't have a system. When I go and I talk with business owners, I'm like, okay, show me your conversion rate, show me, your AOV. They're like, okay, hold on a minute. And then they've got to go 5 different places to get all those things. So today I'm going to give you the system. Warning, this first part about attribution is a smidge brainy, but if you don't get it, you're still going to be able to do the tracking sheet. All of this stuff is just addition, subtraction, multiplication, pattern recognition. Humans are born with pattern recognition. You're going to be able to do it. So let's talk about how Facebook even counts a sale and the root cause of this over-reporting stuff. So Facebook uses something called view-through attribution. Attribution just means where did the sale come from? So like I said, Facebook uses view-through. View-through just means somebody saw an ad somewhere, and then a conversion happened, and they go, we think it was this ad. Facebook takes 24 to 48 hours to post data back to the ad platform. So if you're looking at today's data and you're like, why are the numbers so off? It's because Facebook does not even have the ability to show that to you. I usually find that it's accurate within 24 or less, but typically today's data is just about meaningless, which means you have to look at yesterday's data and before that to establish your trends. Let's talk about some basic definitions you should know, which are going to be first touch and last touch attribution. So first touch is John walks onto the car lot. John talks with sales rep Jim. This is the first touch, first person he talks to. John leaves the car lot. He comes back 2 days later. John talks with sales rep Mark. Mark closes the sale. Jim gets the commission. That's what first touch attribution is. The first ad or the first person that they talked with gets the money, gets the credit. Last touch attribution is John walks onto the car lot. John talks with sales rep Jim, first touch. John leaves the car lot and comes back 2 days later. John talks with sales rep Mark. Mark closes the sale. Last touch, Mark gets the commission. So this is the difference between first touch and last touch. Now let's talk about view through versus first touch versus last touch. Facebook does offer different attribution models. I just clicked through them right before this. The default is called view through, which means somebody saw an ad and a conversion happened somewhere. We think it's this ad. Facebook does offer 1 day click, 7 day click, all these things, but it also kind of mixes those with views. So it gets a little bit fuzzy. And we're going to talk about how to deal with that fuzziness later. Stick with me. And the trick with this is that if you're using a third-party tracking system like Hyros, Segmetrics, Wicked Reports, Cometly, blah, 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 they don't have the ability to count a view. Only Facebook knows who it delivered an ad to and how many people saw that. So yeah, that's going to be the tricky part about aligning third-party attribution systems with first touch, last touch stuff. Hyros, Wicked Reports, Cometly, or Segmetrics all offer different attribution models. There's more softwares out there. I'm not going to name all of them. These are the popular ones and the ones I've maybe worked with a little bit. I just got off of Segmetrics, quick side note, because it was very unclear of handling the different attribution models in different views. Currently, I'm really happy working with Wicked Reports. And to sum this all up, you need to determine which attribution model is best for your business. So with low ticket info product, it's generally going to be faster sale, and with higher ticket stuff, it's going to be a longer term sale. So for some businesses, especially like beginning businesses, like I'll talk with, people who are new to advertising, it's like, oh, $500 a month, like that's a lot of money. And they're like, should we get Hyros? I'm like, you're going to get like 5 sales maybe with $500 in your first month or something. It's not a whole lot of money to spend. And if you're going to go and spend $500 on tracking software, you're more likely to put the finances of the client upside down than you are to actually help them. So I don't think about adding on third-party tracking software until I'm spending like a few thousand a day. And even now I'm not using it on some accounts. So you need to choose the attribution model based on the length of the sales cycle. So if you're selling low ticket, fast decision stuff, use last touch. Somebody came in, they saw an ad, maybe they viewed another ad, maybe they clicked on something else, but this was the ad that sold them. So we're going to use last touch. The prospect saw an ad and made the decision to purchase pretty much right away. If you're selling high ticket, use first touch. And the reason you want to use first touch is the prospect saw an ad. This sparks the idea to engage with your business, but the conversion actually happened later. So they might have seen, 3 different ads. Like I remember I bought the Henson razor recently, and I had seen their ads. I was like, this looks really cool. It's kind of expensive, but I can tell you the ad that sold me was the one they had like a what do you call it? Like a heat map of like how it affected the face on the skin. I was like, that's the one. But I had seen 3 or 4 other ads before I finally made that decision. So now if you're running warm traffic engagement campaigns, no third party to my tracker, or no third party tracker to my knowledge was going to show likes, comment, and shares as a first touch. So if you're running like, oh, we run post engagement to build a warm audience, and then we like retarget them or whatever, it's only going to show that they came in off that ad because because to my knowledge, none of the third party trackers I've seen track likes and comments and shares in a way that they can relate it back to a contact from a CRM and then attribute it to an ad. So if you're going to do that, the alternate strategy that I'm going to be experimenting here with my clients shortly is going to be taking them off platform to a blog post. So that is all the attribution model stuff. Take a big breath. I know it's a lot of brainy stuff. You can get a copy of the presentation, read back all through this stuff. It didn't quite click for you the first time around. It took me a little while to get it. So let's talk about some last quick things before we get into actually looking at data and organizing it. So most day zero data is useless, again, because of Facebook's 24 to 48-hour delay. Link CTR has almost nothing to do with sales. All we care about is CPA. I don't care about CPM. I don't care about basically anything except CPA. CPA is almost the only thing I look at. Unless I'm having trouble or I have no sales, it's just CPA. Like, yeah, we could get into specific examples, but we're limited on time today. So different funnels will have different sales data delays. That's why I can't just blanket say, oh, everybody should use first touch or everybody should use last touch. I can tell you a webinar funnel that I work on has an average sale time of like 2.1 days. We got that out of tracking software, which we're no longer using, but it still sticks. And then there's other funnels that I work on where, like the challenge funnel, where it's going to be a 10 to 14 day sale. So with that one, we're going to use first touch. So these are some things. And again, Facebook takes 24 to 48 hours to post that data back to the ad platform. Now, last caveat or so before we get into data, which is tracking before the pixel. There's so many people who I talk to out there who are like, oh, the pixel is inaccurate, or, you know, the iOS 14 or whatever. And it's like, you guys, like the pixel didn't always exist. And Frank Kern and all the internet marketing legends before us who ran ads and ran them profitably did kind of what I'm about to show you without the luxury of the pixel. The pixel didn't always exist. But what you can always measure is money in, money out. Even back to the, you know, when direct response advertising was invented. Okay, we put, you know, $30,000 in this direct mail campaign and we made back 60. Okay, cool. We're going to do that one again. You can always do that. Tracking is never going to be perfect. I have looked at Cappy compared to Pixel, compared to third-party trackers, and none of them line up. So the only thing that you can ever make sure of with your client is that you are operating in a consistent way. So the way that we do all this, the way that we operate through all of this imperfectness that Facebook gives us, is that we need to operate and optimize based on trends instead of, oh, well, today's data, which is completely off, which doesn't account for an attribution model that is relative to our business, says that we should do this, therefore I'm going to turn these 3 ads on and off. You can't operate like that, in my opinion. Okay, now we're going to get to the tracking part. So how do you figure out all these numbers? Well, we're going to build a tracking sheet. This is what the tracking sheet looks like. It looks a little bit overwhelming, but we're going to break it down column by column. So first, big picture overview is in the top. We have a monthly and weekly overview. And the reason that we have that is so that if you're trying to look at data every single day and compare, you know, this to that, you're going to get overwhelmed. And so it's very helpful to have a big picture, again, establishing a place where we can understand our trends. In the top right, we have a projection. The projection has a couple of little cool, simple calculations in it where it looks at how much money you've made, how many days of the month have already passed, how many days are left, and then it calculates approximately what you'll make that month. And this starts out inaccurate, obviously, because you have a low data pool, and then it gets more accurate, and then it aligns perfectly at the end of the month, which is pretty neat. Next, we have the daily data section, which is in kind of the center purple section there. And there's actually only 2 columns you need to fill out, which are the columns that are in white. Everything that's blue or green or red is auto-calculated, which is super neat. So you only have to put in 2 numbers. And then on the right, we have the notes section. So let's break it down. First thing, first couple of columns are pretty self-explanatory. We have the day, and then we have the date so that we can match up our data. Then we have our week breakdown. And this is there just, again, for that anti-overwhelm thing. And then we have ad spend, how much we spent. We got to know how much we spent. Quick note on the weeks. I don't worry about aligning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's been endless discussions about day parting in the advertising community, and generally the consensus is that you lose more optimization than you gain by day parting. And especially if you're running targeting all four, quote the big four countries or big five, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, USA, and UK, the day parting isn't really going to function correctly unless you break out all your countries. So, quick note there. So the weeks don't correlate to anything specifically. It's just a container for data. Then we have ad spend. Our next column is total revenue. We need to know how much we made, and then you can choose to break it down per traffic source or global. For me, how I manage my clients, I strongly prefer to have them duplicate the funnel, because then I can easily justify my position with them every single month, every single day by saying, okay, I spent this much on ads, we made this much money on this funnel, and there's absolutely zero confusion about where the money came from. Next up is total sales. And this is really important. We want to count the number of new customers, not the new customers plus upsells. So an upsell isn't a customer. Customers have two numbers associated with them. They have an AOV, average order value, and an LTV. The average order value is going to vary. The LTV is something you can get from your CRM system. I don't really track LTV back to this sheet. Topic for another day. AOV and LTV are levers for growing the business, and the value of upsells is already reflected in the, that should say total revenue column. So if there's a day where somebody takes more upsells, then that increase is going to be reflected in the total revenue column. Next up is we have the AOV. How much did a customer spend on average? If it's low, you should probably work on the upsell take rate percent. That falls under CRO. And then you can see the fluctuations by day here. So here's a day with 209. Here's a day with almost $250. Here's a day with 161. So you can see it fluctuates, and that's okay. It's going to happen. Next up, this is very important because it allows us to calculate what's called the real world average order value. So you don't have to go separate to your funnel, because if you have the total revenue for an isolated funnel and you have the total number of sales, you can calculate the funnel AOV by just dividing, let's do the first column here, 5582 by 26 is going to give you 214. And is this going to be like maybe a couple cents off? Yeah, but it's only ever going to be a couple cents off. Cool. Next up is we have what I call the Facebook reported sales, which is how many sales does Facebook actually say that we got? And this is required in order to calculate the overreporting and underreporting. Next up, we have the Facebook reported CPA, which is what does Facebook say our CPA is? And very important, if you have a third-party data tracking person, make sure that if you're running, say, like a post engagement campaign and a sales campaign, they don't count sales and posts into the reported sales. All we care about is sales. So what does Facebook say our CPA is? And this is going to help you see kind of the account trends. And this one is calculated by dividing the ad spend by the Facebook reported sales. So if you look in Facebook, maybe Facebook says, 53.96 or whatever. But the reality is if you just divide total ad spend by the Facebook reported sales, it's going to give you the Facebook reported CPA, again, within a couple of cents, and it saves you from having to do more data entry stuff. Next up, this is probably one of the most important columns to understand ever. It's called the real world CPA. And this is what does it actually cost for us to get a new customer? And this lets you calculate the AOV you actually need to be profitable. So this is calculated dividing the ad spend over here in the first column by the number of sales, which is right here. And quick note, I forgot to mention on the total number of sales, you can see that column is in blue. What I'll always have clients do is we have another sheet as part of this sheet, and we use Zapier to just put all the sales in there, the sales value, some unique identifiers about the customer, and then the date. So then the date aligns with all this stuff, and then it gets auto calculated, which is super cool. So what most advertisers are doing, they look in Facebook, they go, oh, Facebook says we got a sale for $53. Well, no, you didn't. You got a sale for $151, or you spent $3,800 and you got 35 actual sales. That means your AOV was $110. So then you can compare that to your AOV. So you can see on this particular day, 110 versus 240 per sale. That's the difference of 90. It's a pretty good day. It's a pretty darn good day. Next up is the sales delta. And this is where we solve the overreporting, underreporting thing. So this is a ratio that shows you how much Facebook overreports or underreports. And it lets you understand your Facebook data better. It's calculated simply by dividing the number of Facebook sales by the number of real sales. So we would divide, say, 50 divided by 24 for this day, or say 76 divided by 38 gives us 2.0. And you can see that this varies. Unfortunately, it varies a lot. Facebook's imperfect. And then just some quick guidelines for this is below 1. I rarely see that. The lowest I've ever seen is 0.8. And then 1.0, that would mean that Facebook's tracking is perfect with your real world tracking. Usually I see between 1.2 and 2.0. It's pretty typical. It doesn't really matter what this number is, but if you're seeing something above like 2.5, then you probably have some kind of tracking issue. We've gone over and over and over it with this client, and this is our numbers. This is what we got. So next up is ROAS, which is how much we multiplied our money by. Quick tab for, was this a good day or a bad day? Simply calculated by dividing revenue by ad spend. If it's less than 1, you can see right here, this is a 1, this is a 0.9. Those days are a loss. If it's 1.0, that means break even. And if it's 1.5, that means you made 50 cents on the dollar. And if it's, say, 2.0, you doubled your money. If it's 3.0, you tripled your money. Higher is better. Cool. And then we have profit. How much money did we actually make? Pretty easy calculation, calculated by subtracting revenue minus ad spend. And I want to pause right here real quick and stress that this tracking sheet is awesome. It rocks. But the reason I'm sharing with you how all of these numbers are calculated is it doesn't matter, like, if you're an email copywriter and you have 10,000 templates. What matters is how intimately you know those templates. Because I built this tracking sheet, I know how every column works and why it works that way. And that's really what I'm trying to share with you right now, in addition to just the raw analysis of it. Cool. And then we have the notes section. And this is the part where we get into accountability. And a big part of why my clients love me so much is because I take a lot of notes about what I did. So they have access to the sheet. They can come in at any time. They get their numbers. They don't have to ask me. This is updated pretty much every day, if not every 2 days. I work with a data entry guy, so it's pretty much always up to date. And then whenever I go in and I do my analysis, I can see big picture what I'm doing. So this was pulled from another month where I was doing a lot of notes here. Now I do them at the bottom of the sheet because I'm taking more notes. But this is a great way, if you are a business owner, to get more accountability from your media buyer and see literally what they're doing, or if they're not doing anything. It lets you retrace moves, changes in strategy and testing. And generally here, at least in this small space, I like to stick to big picture actions. So you can see on this day, this is when we got like Segmetrics live, and then Segmetrics had to get its data. And then this is the first day I analyzed with Segmetrics. So you can see maybe a change in ROAS once I start doing that. Yeah, big picture action. So this is the whole data sheet. Now, what do we do with all this data? How do we operate this sheet so it's actually useful to us? So the most important thing on this tracking sheet is the sales delta. And delta just means difference. Cool. So here's how we utilize the sales delta. If you multiply the sales delta by the cost per result in Facebook, you will get within 10% of the real CPA. I'm going to do all the math for you here in a second. On a bad day. This is amazing. Facebook is over 50% off on most days, depending on the account. This effectively allows you to operate your ads using Facebook data without having to go into another tab and look at a third-party thing and then hold that action in your brain and then look at it and then change the timeline and then go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. You can just look at your Facebook data if you use this method, which is awesome. So let's do some examples. So calculation steps are, number 1, find the sales delta for the previous 7 days, exclude today. You're going to grab your Facebook reported CPA. So you got 2 numbers. You're going to multiply them. So sales delta times your Facebook reported CPA equals your theoretical CPA. Now you're going to compare that, what actually happened in the real world, and then you can calculate the difference. So I pulled some data from that exact sheet that I already been showing you. So for 6/9/2024, our Facebook CPA, Facebook says we got sales for 42.88. Our average sales delta for the past 7 days is 2.59. We multiply those two and we get $111.45. Our real world CPA, what it actually came out to that day, was $110.27. The percent off, or the cash off, is 1%, or $1.18. Facebook is off from the theoretical CPA, not even the actual CPA, by $68. Let's do another one for 610. So Facebook CPA, we're going to multiply it by our sales delta for the last 7 days. And our theoretical CPA that we should meet on that day is $148. The real world CPA was 147, and we were less than 0.5% off. And Facebook was off by $91. Not every day is perfect though. So here's days where it's a little bit more off. Facebook CPA times our sales delta gives us a theoretical CPA at 131. The real world CPA was 149. That means we're 11.99% off. We're low on that day, or $17, which is still not bad because Facebook is off by $83. Let's do another one, $59 times 2.59, average sales delta for the last 7 days. You can literally just highlight in the Google Doc, and then in the bottom right, you change the little selector to average, and then we'll just tell you the average. So this doesn't take horribly long. Theoretical CPA, 152, real world CPA, 136, and we came out 11.07% high, or $16 off, which again is way better than Facebook, which is a whole $93 off. So 12% off is a lot better than what Facebook offers. And to do everything I'm showing you today, it's completely free. It requires Google Docs. That's it. And your projections get better the longer you do this, which is why I can tell my clients about how much money they're going to make, before the end of the month. And you can also outsource the data entry. So all you have to do is look at this sheet. Cool. Now let's take all this and apply it to a real ad account. So I grabbed the screenshot for this ad account from July 7th through July 9th. That's what we're looking at. And I have a very particular naming scheme where I put in what I'm advertising, the audience, kind of geo, a little bit of information there, and then specifically the launch date. And then this is the alpha, beta, all this is for keeping track of how many duplications of that I've done, which is a whole other strategy. So the first thing I actually want to do is eliminate stuff that I don't need to look at. So if today's the 9th and these ads went live on the 8th and they've got a pretty low budget, which is where I kind of like to start things, you can see that this says $52, $52, $53. Well, I don't even need to look at those because I looked at the average CPA for this account for the last 7 days. It's $137, which is a little bit higher than usual. Okay, fine. But if these ads haven't spent, and even 1x that, even $100, how do I know if I'm going to get a sale? I can't know if I'm going to get a sale. Other people like to do their ad testing analysis by impressions. With this account, I'll tell you, we spend a lot of money, usually over 6 figures a month. So I'm okay using a little bit more expensive testing method. But if you want to be a little bit more conservative, you could say, okay, let's run it to X impressions or whatever. And you would analyze it at the ad level. So for these ones, I don't need to take any action because they haven't spent enough. Cool. Now let's look at our remaining ad sets. So I just cropped this picture down. So this is everything minus the stuff that we don't need to look at. So now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply our Facebook CPAs by by the average sales delta. Sorry, a little typo there. So we're going to take all these numbers in the cost per result column in Facebook, and then we're going to multiply it by our sales delta for the last 7 days. In this case, happens to be 2.02. So 106 times 2.02 right here, we're still on step 2, is 215. 89 times 2.02, 180. 52 times 2.02, 105, 36 times 2.02, 73, 26 times 2, 54. So now we have what should actually be happening in the real world. So instead of looking at Facebook and going, oh, we're getting sales for $106, let's scale that. No, you're actually more than likely getting sales for like $215. Now, if we know our numbers and our AOV, again, for past 7 days or so on this account is 218, then I can see that with this one, I'm only making $3 per sale, which is really rough. I probably don't want to scale that one, right? With this one, 180, it's a little bit high. So I highlight it in red because our average CPA is 137. But you can see these other three ad sets, I'll pop back, which are V23, Best Hits Tom Zips, and Best Hits Broad. All of those $52, 36, 26. All of those are well below our average CPA. So these are ones that are a great candidate for a scale. And one more kind of like rule of thumb that I want to share with you as you're doing this is you don't need to be as pedantic in your calculations as I have been in this presentation. And the reason is because once you understand that if you see so it says 52.45 times 2.02 is 105. Well, that's below 137. So you know that probably anything below whatever 137 divided by the average sales delta is actually, anything below about $60 is going to be a candidate to potentially scale. So now the next thing is that people get hung up on is they will just look at the ad set level and they're like, oh, all these things are like on fire and they're doing really, 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 really bad. So you have to look at kind of another view, another distribution, which is kind of, if we just look at the amount spent column, where is kind of the distribution of our budget right now? Distribution of our budget is that we're spending $2,500 over the last 3 days on this ad, which is producing the worst CPA. We're spending the next bulk of our budget on the next thing that's producing the worst CPA. So now the trick with this is look at the campaign level. Is it 106? Is it 89? No, it's actually in between there because these are taking up most of this. But if we take this 92.10 and over here, 92 times the sales delta gives us 185. Again, our AOV is 218. So we're making $40 a sale on this, which is like not bad. It's not a lot of money though. We could do better. So now this tells me that we have some work to do with these particular ad sets. This is what I call flagging. So flagging is where I've identified the ad sets that are potentially causing trouble. It's not these ones that have no purchases, and it's not these ones that are all within KPI, even after I multiply by the sales delta. So where are the majority of high CPA sales coming from? It's coming from the red and the orange. So now we dig deeper onto the ad set level. So this is digging into that top ad set. I can see Facebook. I like to think that Facebook is pretty smart with its ad distribution most of the time. Other times, Facebook is a drunk toddler and it says, hey, let's spend all of our money on one ad that's doing absolutely horrible. So that's what it did in this case. So you can see over the past 3 days, it spent pretty much about 50% of the budget on this one ad that is producing a significantly higher CPA than anything else. And you can see this ad, which no purchases, well, it's got no spend, no purchases, no spend. That's fine. Facebook can swap ads in and out as it wants. But these other ones, not so bad, right? So all I'm going to do in this ad set is I'm just going to turn it off. So I turned it off, and then this screenshot is I just turned that ad off, and then I put a filter on for show me all of the active ad sets, and we just dropped the cost per purchase in that ad set from 106 down to 79. Now that's if Facebook holds and keeps its distribution smart. So this is why we have to watch our ads. But we literally just lowered the CPA in Facebook by $20 in literally one move. So now we're down to 159 theoretical CPA. So it's 79 times our average sales delta. And we're back to around $40 per sale now. And I want to go back actually and point out one last thing, which is if we look at this screenshot here, again, coming back to the campaign level analysis. So if we lowered this from 106 down to $79, how's that going to drop this $92 here? It's going to be much better. And so instead of obsessing over, oh, hey, the one that's spending the most has also the highest CPA, therefore it sucks and I should either scale it down or turn it off, you're going to have the highest scaling ad set is probably going to have that. It's just about creating a balance in the account. And this is how I go through and I troubleshoot all those things. So, yeah, Yep. And then we just repeat all of that for all ad sets every 1 to 2 days. And that's most of how I manage accounts. The only thing I didn't talk about in here is kind of getting deep on 3 day, 7 day, 1 day analysis and longer trends like that. But we're about at time, and this is a big concept for advertisers to get. So I'm all ready for questions. If you want to get the tracking sheet and the presentation, you can go to that link right there. Little email opt-in, I'll send it to you. And then if you want to contact me, get a consult or something like that, you can reach out at matt@mattwrightconsulting.com. Alrighty.
Matt, and I know this was kind of in the platinum group, but I know you were like just testing and you had made a post about an attribution tool
Yep.
that you were using. Can you kind of go over that, kind of what
Yeah.
we're up with that and kind of what you've seen with the tool specifically?
Yes. So I would like to name the tool because it's very important. Because it's
Yeah,
not
go
all
ahead.
tools that do this. So the tool I used with the client account is Segmetrics. I chose Segmetrics over RedTrack because Segmetrics had a much better onboarding process. I think that RedTrack is probably a better tool, but it does have an onboarding cost of, I think, it was like $500 when I looked at it. And maybe we should have paid that, but I spent around was it $100,000 through Segmetrics, and we did it 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. What we found for that account was whether we optimized by last touch or we optimized by first touch, the 2 week sets that we had used for making our advertising decisions over those 2 week periods were on average, I think it was exactly about 15% lower. So it wasn't something that helped us. And it's over $100,000 of ad spend. And so we've literally just gone back to Facebook and doing this method, and ta-da, we're back up again. So there's that. And specifically, Segmetrics had an issue where it allows you to choose first touch or it allows you to choose last touch attribution. But when you go and you isolate individual ad sets or you isolate ads, then it basically changes to an any touch attribution. I actually didn't know that until about 1.5 or 2 months in working with them, which is
Any
really not
touch,
good.
when it's any touch, and I know like triple L, and I know like Wicked, for example.
Mhm,
Now we primarily use all triple L. We've migrated,
mhm.
but I know like in the past, Wicked uses like a full impact. Is there any
Yeah.
touch? Because I've never used Segmetrics. Is that like to a full impact where it just doesn't look at the conversion and it gives credit to every channel, one full, like 100%?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like it's like whether they saw this ad or that ad, there was a sale that happened here. And so
Yep.
so like if you look at first touch, depending on your business model, first touch might be lower for some ads, or it might be a higher ROAS for some ads. If you look at last touch, it might be higher, it might be lower, right? But any touch is going to make everything higher because it's counting everything.
Yep. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you basically quit using it now and you just went back to your old
We
method.
Yeah, we quit using it for that business. I'll say the businesses that I am using third-party trackers in are I'm using Wicked Reports, and I'm using Wicked Reports because I found that Wicked Reports does a great job. Again, I do info product stuff. I haven't messed with Triple Whale. Triple Whale is all ecom, to my knowledge. So I wanted to add in Wicked Reports because with two of these clients, I do challenge funnels, and so challenge funnels are we're advertising, 2 weeks before. So people come in, they're a lead, and then they get all these emails or whatever. And then the conversion happens like, 3 to 10 days, depending on the length of the challenge. And then there's a thing. So we need to be able to look back all the way to here. And, if we're running lead ads on Facebook, well, we just know we got a lead. But
Yep.
Facebook isn't going to, especially if the sale is past like 30 days, it's not going to go back and credit it in Facebook. But we can
Right.
do that. And so what that allows us to do with Wicked Reports, this is just tremendously important. When you're running challenges, is a lot of people want to just lowest cost per lead, lowest cost per lead, lowest cost per lead. That's great. That's important. But now what we can look at with Wicked Reports is we can say, oh, everybody from this audience, they were a lower cost per lead, but the conversion was not good. And that's like a higher level metric that I like to dig into. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Cool.
mhm.
Well, I appreciate the time. We're trying to keep these over like the lunch hour or, right around when people are eating. So they're keep them nice, short and brief, just a daily dose. If you guys have any questions, um, reach out to Matt. Awesome dude. Met him in our platinum group, which is our private group. and we've jammed a lot. I think I've learned a lot from him, and I think I've taught him a lot. So
Yeah, you definitely taught me a lot, man.
try
Thank
to. I learn every day, so you're teaching me.
you.
Appreciate it. You want to just let them know one more time before we jump how they can get reach you?
Yep, I will just share it right here. So bit.ly MWC dash tracking dash sheet. That'll get you the slides and the tracking sheet template. And then if you want to reach out to me, it's just matt@mattwrightconsulting.com. Please note, if you add me on Facebook, also send me a message. I get a gazillion friend requests, and
Yeah.
yeah, nobody ever sends a message, and I don't know who they are. So
Goes into spam too. I've noticed like I'll go back and I have like a whole spam full. I didn't know they had like they actually have three inboxes now, and a lot of them go into the spam because I don't
yeah,
accept friend invites anymore. It's just
yeah.
yeah,
I like
so.
I like to check it. Sometimes you meet some cool connections.
Oh,
So
for sure. I go back and I'm like, dang, this guy has a big company. He wanted me to do some stuff for him.
yeah,
Well,
could
yeah,
have
it's
used that. Could have used that couple $1,000.
well, I appreciate it, man. Have a
Cool.
good rest of your week, and thanks guys for joining. See you, man.
See ya.
Later.